With Bethesda finally giving some details on the upcoming Starfield, players got the opportunity to ask, how the hell can 1,000 different planets be fun? In order to answer this question, and not at all because I just happen to have a copy, I played Daggerfall, the second Elder Scrolls game, and by far the largest, nearly 130,000 square miles. That's almost the size of Great Britain, but just like Great Britain, just because it's big, doesn't mean people like it. So, how well does Daggerfall hold up in 2022? Well, buckle up because I got a story for you. I had the Daggerfall Unity version of the game, so after starting up, I was immediately asked to tweak a bunch of settings that I had little clue what they meant. Just smashing my way forward, I start the game and find the character creator. Having no idea what would make for a good character in the first place, I choose the personality test that will decide for me who I should play as. A task that I loathe? Get out of it. A man got caught murdering? He shouldn't have let himself get caught. My little cousin wants candy? Give it to her. After answering a dozen or so questions, my results were in and it was revealed to me that I was a INTJ and a Capricorn, and I looked just like Mark Ruffalo, but most importantly, that I would be playing as an assassin. It's good to know I'm as edgy on the inside as I am on the outside. Then it was time for the bonus round, bio questions for what kind of assassin I wanted to specialize as. A lot less interesting, much more standard questions, except for when they asked what my childhood nickname was. Obviously, I chose the best possible name for an assassin, Guppy. And with that, Gupper's Breadbury added some last stats he had little to no idea what they were good for, and then he was off. Guppers was then tasked by the Emperor of Tamriel to go to Daggerfall to solve the mystery of why the dead king of Daggerfall haunts his lands after death, swearing vengeance, and to track down the Emperor's nudes that got lost in the mail on their way to the dead king's wife.
The letter was of a sentimental but personal nature. If you find and destroy that letter, I will be grateful.
But before I could properly make my way there, my ship was sunk in an unnatural storm and I washed ashore into a dank dungeon. The good news, it was nice and dry. The bad news, I wasn't clear how to play. The good news, helpful tutorial pop-ups appeared and promised me I was safe for now.
What the? I thought I was worried.
The bad news, I was not safe at all and was immediately attacked by a rat. In my panic state, I managed to draw a weapon and fight it off. Only a little bit after, the game was considerate enough to teach me how to draw a weapon and fight anything off. With this knowledge, I bravely went forward and immediately died after opening my very first door. There was a lot of things I did not understand at this time. 1, I had taken a lot of damage fighting that rat and a bat, near death's door level damage. 2, health does not regenerate naturally, so I was asking to get killed by anything who so much as gave me a dirty look. 3, there are no quick or autosaves, so everything up to now was gone. So ended the story of Gupper's Breadbury. I guess Guppy isn't so good of a name after all. Undeterred, I quickly created Gupper's cousin, Clean Breadsworth. Skipping the personality test, I made a Nord spellsword who liked money and hated assassins. Look at this handsome lad. A smile on his face and murder in his eyes. This time I would save often to avoid more tragedy, but I didn't learn how to deal with the health thing yet. So this led to some very stressful half-health fights against a single archer who constantly kicked my ass.
Oh, I got him too.
Only after having my teeth kicked in a dozen times did my galaxy brain finally wonder,
this dungeon is so hard to clean. If only there was an easier way.
When I realized not even my magic regenerated slowly over time, I checked the controls and found the super useful rest button. It would then proceed to be my most pressed button for the rest of the game. Sure, it would usually take a whole night to heal up from a small battle, but it was better than having anything less than full health, so it quickly became normal practice to take a full 8-hour sleep after every rat. This coupled with half an hour of constant saving got me to level 2. And out of the dungeon. It was then I got my first breath of fresh air and looked around and thought, yeesh, this place is kinda ugly. Don't get me wrong, it has a real charm to it and the Unity remaster really helps improve it, but as I walk around the copy and paste the landscape, all I could think about is how the ski-free monster could totally peer around any corner. The game gives me my final tip to fast travel to a city, which I make the poor decision of ignoring and manually slogging my way to the nearest town. Exhausted from an eventless journey of holding W, I vowed to never do that again. I had no leads at this time for my main quest, and I'm quite poor, so I make my way to the closest tavern. It would actually be really nice in here if the barkeep didn't actively try to talk me out of being a productive member of society. I bothered everyone as much as I could without getting much, so instead I slept and waited for the shops to open. I visited looted from the dungeon for a decent chunk of change. In my the whole empty second floor and a big wardrobe with a single bandage inside. Surely this would be a good, safe place to begin my thieving career. By the time I made it downstairs, the entire town guard kicked down the door and bum rushed me. Hardly able to take on 2 rats at the same time, I was forced to surrender, and I actually made the first good decision I had in a while and chose to plead guilty to my crime. Several days later, I was released from a prison, a more honest man with a great fear of the all-seeing eye of the law. Being the good citizen I was, I found work at the Mages Guild and on a quest to find a place called the Ashford Residence. With no idea where that was, I began asking the local populace. Some didn't know where to find it, others like this guy didn't want me to know. Seriously rude. I just killed that guy, didn't I? I swear it was an accident. I was just clicking out of a dialogue when that happened, which is exactly what I told the court when they threatened to throw me in the slammer for over a year. They didn't believe a word of it, and I lost all of my money and would have to serve for over 500 days. Things looked really bad, but then the best possible thing that could have happened saved me at the last possible moment. Restarting again, I made more of an effort to sheath my weapon when walking around town. Except I didn't do that at all, and swung my sword randomly at a locked door. I was almost immediately found guilty of the comparably small crime of breaking and entering and paid the low price of banishment from the town. I found the Ashford residence and was told necromancers would likely try to stop me from delivering the item I picked up to the guild, but I kinda just fast traveled and it was completely fine. My next job was to escort a group of students to various points of interest around the region, which was a great quest for me as it forced me to learn how to work with the very dense map. Fast traveling is interesting as sometimes it works exactly the way you think it does, but depending on what you choose, it might also look like this. Lots of fun. I visited a farm and got to pet a bunch of cows. While I was doing this, I received a letter from a woman who said she was working for the Emperor and had important information for me. I completed the work and left to meet the lady. She pointed out the royalty of 3 different provinces, which would be a good starting place for my investigation. While I was at the tavern that I met the lady at, I talked to a barkeep who had a much more favorable opinion on work, as he would need me to save his kidnapped wife or she would be killed in 30 days.
That's rough, buddy.
Plenty of time, or it would have been, if I wasn't almost immediately arrested for criminal conspiracy moments later. I guess I just pet too many cows. Okay, so a little under a week now. This isn't going to be easy, but I have a chance. I spent a few days to travel, and then I rent a room to rest from my rushed travel, and then I'm arrested for criminal conspiracy once more.
Guilty. Very cool.
Oh no.
Cool.
So here I did a couple of small things. I took a quest where I needed to put someone to sleep. I spent most of my money to learn the spell just to realize that I had no hope of casting it. Died and reloaded before that. I took a quest that sent me to a dungeon of Springans. I couldn't even hurt them with my weaponry, so I simply just left and let that be. I crafted my first spell, which was super cool. I made a simple heal spell, but unfortunately it ended up using more than half of my magic. Less than useful. Around this time, I was starting to pick up on the hint I was not very well liked in the whole region and needed the heat to die down, or I would be stuck with more conspiracy charges. So I decided to travel to the other side of the bay to the region of Sentinel, where I might find some more clues. It was a great change of pace. It was warm. It was flat. Everyone still knew me, but only half of them hated me on sight.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name.
The major town I decided to start in was huge. I didn't have a hope of finding what I needed without asking for a lot of directions. I found the Mages Guild and picked up some minor work. Soon I found myself in a different major town with a palace. Considering I was advised to investigate the royalty in this area, I figured this was exactly where I wanted to be, but honestly, it was a pretty small whack palace, so when there wasn't anything of interest inside, I wasn't too shocked. Although someone paid me to transport a Daedra heart, but warned me the Daedra would want it back. Considering my luck last time I transported something, I figured it was fine. And it was fine, until I got attacked from behind and killed in a single hit. I assume it was a Daedra, but I have no way of knowing. So I decided to take an alternate approach to raising some cash and went to the Mages Guild and took a bodyguard job. The mages were quite sure they would be attacked at midnight, and sure enough, they were. For the Thieves Guilds, they weren't exactly stealthy about it. The job paid well, and the loot from the corpses paid even better, so I did it a couple more times. It went pretty well outside the time I went to rest at the nearby tavern and came back to the Mages Guild at 11 when they locked their doors. They wouldn't let me, their own guard, in, so I smashed my way in instead. Of course, this once again led to me being arrested for breaking and entering. And no, I was not able to explain the very reasonable circumstances. I agreed to help the innkeeper I was staying at by disguising myself as him and showing up to the duel he had been challenged to because he kept hitting on some guy's wife. When I arrived, the husband agreed to fight me, but at a different location once he had changed clothes. I made my way to the second location and found him waiting for me. I took him out only to discover this was just a mercenary disguised as the real husband. I went back and collected my reward, and my buddy innkeeper was very happy to give the news to his lover. When he discovered the husband was still very much alive, which none of my concern. Feeling accomplished, I took on a more ambitious quest to fight through a dungeon for a certain gem. The dungeons in these games are huge. After a ton of fighting, dying, and reloading, I cleared out the dungeon and was a lot stronger, but the gem was nowhere to be found. I even did this whole lever puzzle thing, but it didn't seem to do anything besides just send me back to where I was before. I did pick up a book off of a corpse that told me about a secret dungeon, so I hoped I would find it there. Instead, I did not. Nothing of value there at all. The good news is, at a random tavern, I found a lady who said she knew about my quest and the mysterious storm that sunk my ship. The catch is, she wanted some evil-sounding scroll, protected by Daedra, which I still suspect are the things that one-shot me. So I found myself in another miserable dungeon devoid of even a single friendly face. Luckily, the dungeon was mostly guarded by very killable humanoids, but wow, I was so lost inside. I came across a more interesting cave-like area, but it spat me out back in normal stone dungeon lands. Once I had nearly explored the whole dungeon and revisited the cave area, I found my goal, not far from where I had started. I spotted the Daedra guarding the scroll, but very fortunately for me, he was trapped in a cage and practically harmless. I just popped over, grabbed the scroll, and got the hell out of there. For once, I returned victorious and got the information I wanted. I was quite happy something had finally gone right, but the lady was a little less than thankful. With all of my collected loot and some extra money, I took a break to enjoy some fashion souls, and fashionable I became. With my stunning good looks, I was promoted in the Mages Guild and allowed to take on some more difficult quests. I was teleported into the heart of a dungeon in order to catch an elusive assassin off guard. I didn't realize how much trouble I had gotten myself into until the game straight up told me how to cheat my way out of the situation I just found myself in. I was also given the chance for a stealth check, which I knew I had little to no chance of passing as I had no stealth, but hey, figured it's worth giving a shot and completely failed. Funny side note, I was completely able to walk around with this message up and was able to get a lay of the land of the complete death trap I found myself in. This would be useful as I was surrounded on all sides with nowhere to go. Luckily, most of the enemies I found myself between were all from different factions, and the Bear faction was not interested in making allies. Also, one of the identical green guys was the assassin I was here to assassinate. Wait, hold up, I could do better. Supreme victory! On my return, I found a sign posted by the main gate. Persons of the Mages Guild are to be tamed upon sight. The Queen. Well, that's not good. While I was away doing my quest, the guild leader was apparently talking so much smack he got the whole guild blacklisted. Not good. I had been on the wrong side of the law too many times to know the guards don't bluff. But I had picked up just one last job. Super simple, just need to kill an evil wizard in his tower, shouldn't be any problem.
I'll destroy their tower tomorrow. It'll be fast. In and out.
It starts off quite well. He's only populated his tower with easily killed sorcerers and healers. I, being the superior mage, use my ability of stabbing them until they are dead to prove my abilities and loot their corpse. Which was a bit of a curse in disguise as I found myself quickly running out of space in my limited inventory and having to leave good loot behind. Also, the term tower must be local slang for a really big underground place, as this place was really big. I had been exploring half an hour with no end in sight. When I thought I was making progress, I found a large hole which dropped me right back at the start. It's okay, I'm not mad. This is a great opportunity to sell all my junk I've picked up, and sell all my junk I did. The weapons and cloth I had picked up gave me some nice pocket change, and all the books I sold made me an overnight millionaire. I had so much money, I actually didn't open up that much space in my inventory just because of how heavy all this gold was. I had to stop by the bank and deposit quite a lot of it so I wouldn't sink in a small puddle under the immense weight of my wallet. Cool. So feeling good, I returned to the dungeon, ready to quickly finish it up, and all the enemies have respawned. Oh boy, this is going to be a while. The wizard tower was quickly ballooning out to be the size of a small city the more I explored. Every time I found something of note, I thought I must be near the end. Oh, look at this huge open area filled with levers and pits. Surely the boss is just past here. Oh, look at this crazy teleporting wall. Finally, the entrance to the boss chamber. Oh, this throne looks important. Please let it lead to the boss so I can get this done already. But no, it just keeps going. Just fighting the same 4 people over and over. I ran out of inventory space again, just packed with books. I even found this thing. Is he down here? Somehow I found a portal to the void before I could find the owner of this place, but finally I found the guy in a small unmarked room perfectly blending in with another identical copy. I thought all this time it would be a boss, but no, just a dude cowering in a small room with this singular bag of gold on the floor. So I had more than enough with that whole area and did not want to wait around to get picked up by the new local magisters, so I turned in my quest for a pretty unhelpful shield and booked it out of there. Out of the whole region, actually. I had received a letter from the royalty of Wayrest about my emperor's lost nudes, so I figured I might as well check it out. Outside of town was a man who could help me charter an airship to the other side of the bay quickly, but the problem was, it just didn't work. Unable to travel in style, I made for the next best option and traveled for 4 days to the closest port town, and from there took a boat to my destination. After a few weeks, I arrived, and I saw something I never expected to see. This place actually looked really good. Everything was bright and green and much less miserable than the desert and the snow I had traveled through previously. I almost thought I was playing a different game until I tried asking for directions and was told to piss off by every local. Yep, definitely the same. I did realize around this time my personality stat was very low, even lower than it should be. I also did not know how to check, but I was beginning to suspect I was poisoned, as every time I fast traveled, I received a message stating I did not feel well and might not survive the trip. Dying poisoned people are not a lot of fun to be around, so possibly this is why no one can stand the sight of me. Unable to ask for directions, I eventually stumbled my way into the Mages Guild. And when I arrived, I was promoted within the ranks, and with my new promotion, was finally good enough to buy magic items from the guild. At long last, I had something good to waste all my money on. The gear itself was not the most exciting, and I actually had little to no idea what it did, but like I said, I had money to waste, and the crystal of cure poison seemed very relevant to my current affliction. There was probably an easier, cheaper way, but cure my poison it did, and my charisma skyrocketed up to average levels. It was still difficult to get directions from the people walking the town, but at least they were starting to cool it with the fantasy Hitler comparisons. Checking the map, I saw I didn't really need any directions to find the royalty of the city. The castle was absolutely massive, far larger than the useless palace I found in the desert. Making my way up the grand steps, I talked to the princess who wrote me the letter. She would help me, but first I had to help her with the delivery to a bunch of murderous necromancers. The fact she didn't even try to hide that they would try to kill the delivery boy was warning sign number 1. The fact that the king and queen hated their daughters so much they did not even want to pass the crown to her brother when they passed was sign number 2. On my way out, I chatted with some of the nearby nobles. I used to think the generic message, X faction now hates Y faction, was just flavor text and didn't mean anything, but when I tried to speak to the jester, he was having none of it just because I was a member of the Mages Guild. Apparently they do matter, and I have clearly chosen my alliances poorly. This was a bad omen, and I'm gonna consider it warning sign number 3. Wasting no time, I made my way to the crypt to find it was empty, but there was a hidden passage within a coffin. Dropping down, I found myself surrounded by mummies. No problem, it's just like killing people, but they're already dead, I thought. Wrong. My weapons were not even high enough material to even affect them. Even switching to my weird magical flail had no effect. My magic would have been able to work if my single fireball I was capable of casting wasn't resisted by each and every one of them. So I died. Equipped with new knowledge, I stumbled around town until I found some weapon shops. Most of them sold junk no better than what I had, but one of them had an elvish hammer in stock that would hopefully do the trick. I had to blow through a lot of money to buy it, which really hurt considering I had recently picked up and sold a similar hammer, but live and learn. This time charging into the crypt, I felt prepared, but I shouldn't have. The hammer was indeed strong enough material to affect the mummies, but my character doesn't know how to use a hammer, so I flailed around wildly, unable to land a single hit. Now, don't laugh. You ever try to kill a man with a hammer? It's not easy. So, I die again. On my next try, I check all the other coffins and find a new passage. Maybe the mummy room was supposed to be a tough, over-leveled area I was supposed to avoid. Dropping down, I find no mummies in sight. Awesome, but I do spot some zombies. Great! Zombies are some of the most basic enemies in video games. This should be an easy, and they keep kicking my ass. My sword can connect with them, so I can hit them, but these rotting corpses are absolute units. My piddly swings struggle to do any real damage to them. Meanwhile, they could put me in the ground with just 2 swings. I tried everything I could think of. My magic attacks barely tickled them. My healing spell only gave me enough HP to survive 1 extra hit. I tried fighting them in the doorway. I tried fighting them on the stairs.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets.
All to no avail. So, yeah, I'm in a really bad situation. This is a story adventure, so I can't give up. There's a 30-day time limit, so I can't train and come back. I tried running past everything, but that's even tougher. And these are just the first 2 rooms. With no idea what to do with myself, I choose instead to make this video. Maybe I'll think of something while editing this. Maybe I'll just give up and live a happy life. Go outside, get some sun, engage in criminal conspiracy. The possibilities are endless. Okay, so I did have a few ideas while editing. My first was just to load way back before I accepted the quest, grind up a level or 2 and then accept it before it expired, but after looking up how strong the zombies are, I realized just a level or 2 would not cut it at all. Plus, I just really don't like loading back if I can help it, so my next idea was to cheese the hell out of it by save scumming. I don't think I mentioned it yet, but the actual hitting in this game is quite odd. First, you have to be physically close enough and swing your sword. If you hit your target, then you have the privilege to roll the dice to see if you hit your target. This goes both ways though, so by saving every time the dice roll went my way, I could potentially beat these way out of depth enemies, and with a little bit of editing, it looks a little something like this. Relieved I finally got past them, I healed up and then ran into some new monster I couldn't even damage. I looked some stuff up about this mission and it was unlocked because I hit level 3, so it's pretty crazy all these kinds of enemies are spawning. Oh, and of course, it killed me. Luckily, I also knew if I chose the right path, the zombies would be the toughest thing I should have to face, so if I run into anything too dangerous, I took a wrong turn. A few wrong turns later, I find a relatively peaceful path filled with bats and rats. Easy. Finally, I popped my way into the necromancer area. They were all actually pretty chill. I asked one where the nearest tavern was. I talked to their leader and he gave me the letter I needed for the quest. There were some dangerous looking dudes, but they all let me be. I ran back to where I first dropped and only now realized I had no way of getting up. However, what I needed was cleverly disguised nearby. All this game I've been running to the occasional decoration like a throne or some heads or some furniture, all sorts of stuff. I did not realize they did things because they don't. I've checked. But that decided to change with this one random banner off to the side. I checked it and could suddenly fly. I don't know why, but I certainly can't complain. I was free of that awful place and more than happy to never return. Speaking of returning, I made my way back to the castle. I turned in the letter, which, now that I think about it, I probably could have read if I wanted to, but completely forgot. In return for the absolute hell I went through, the princess told me a total information dump. So I guess some orc chieftain got his hands on it, but for some reason I should talk to some Queen of Daggerfall about it? I don't know why and what all this other information is supposed to mean despite rereading it a few times. I think I am supposed to recognize some of these names, but I really just don't. So, okay. Very happy to have that done. I could go talk to that queen anytime I wish. Which is a good thing because I have no idea where I would go to find her. Despite being the queen of a major area, I don't seem to have any option for asking which city she would be located in. It doesn't seem like it's going to be easy to figure out. I have only found one capital so far after all, and that was only because I received a letter with directions for exactly where it was. So free once more, the only quest in my journal is to investigate the 3 royal families and avenge the dead king. This got me thinking, what if I just kill all 3 royal families and let God sort them out? Surely the murderer would be brought to justice during some point in my regicide. And what do you know? I'm still right next to a castle just filled with royalty. One new save slot later and I charge at the king ready to take his head before anyone else could react, but I'm surprised to find I just can't hit the guy. None of the family actually. I don't know if it's because they are royalty or special characters or what, but I want to call even more BS on that random peasant I accidentally killed, so half disappointed, I choose to just mess around and kill the bodyguards instead. These people are significantly more stabbable and go down fairly easily. With my healing spells and ability to rest in the middle of the room, I actually win the fight, which I honestly was not expecting. I also expected the army of town guards to flood the room sooner or later, but I guess killing class traitors isn't considered a real crime around these parts. Some tough knights appear, but eventually, I'm able to get the best of them as well. With a giant pile of bodies heaped together in the throne room, I talked to the king who is disappointingly chill about the whole affair. Was really hoping there'd be some kind of reaction, but I guess nobody programming the game expected someone to pull something as stupid as this off, so all the better for me. Got some good looting experience and nothing seems to be any worse off. I still have to save before I went Rambo in the palace just in case, but it all seems to be fine. So there it is. I'm gonna call the video there. That seems like a good stopping point. So this time for real, I say farewell.